Until the federal government steps in to save them, farmers have no one to turn to but God.
Farmers, in my opinion, dear Lord, and it's only my opinion, are closer to thee than anyone else on this earth because we deal with your earth every day. Dear Lord, we're hurting, dear Lord. We can't help what's happened to us.
Today in Trump's America, small-town farms in Arkansas are begging for welfare. They can't sell their soybeans to China. Who knew that so many farmers were making $10,000 an acre from China? Who knew? But instead of pulling up their bootstraps, they're going for welfare. They're going for subsidies. They're going for American handouts. Just mere months after saying, we don't support welfare programs, cut Medicare, cut Medicaid, cut everything to these LGBTQIARSTUV people. Pull up your bootstraps, Arkansas. Sell something Americans want to buy. Talk to your man, Donnie Darko, about the Department of War, because hell, they might be coming to your town soon. He might be bringing the National Guard to Arkansas, and you won't have any farmland left anyway. Look, folks, Donnie Darko is destroying America, and if you can't see it, it's a part of the Heritage Foundation, Project 2025. Go look it up. It's a blueprint. Donnie Darko is following it to a T.
And when it comes to the farmers in Arkansas, you gotta hold that, bro. You voted for that. And it's not like we cheering it on, but we cheering it on. We know Monsanto and BlackRock and all them, they're gonna come in and kill the world. We know this. But we gotta revel in your demise first, bro. You voted for this. And really, this could be karma for the past, too, but we ain't gonna get into all that. But hey, wait, I just want to know. I want to know. What happened to all the Make America Great Again hats? What happened to it? I know when you had to throw that hat out, they was probably mad as, yo, bro. Imagine that feeling. Imagine. Like, I got things tatted on me that if I had to remove them, I thank God I don't have to remove them, but if I had to remove, I would feel terrible. And somebody can be like, the hat ain't same as a tattoo. Shit, the way they was rocking them, Shit, the way they was rocking them, might as well been a tattoo. And really, I wouldn't be surprised if some of them did get tattoos. Make America great. I know one of them got a Donald Trump tattoo right now. Stop playing with me.
So guys, I saw this video of a bunch of Arkansas farmers all gathered up and praying, not for rain or for good crops, but for God to save them from the tariffs put into place by the guy they voted for, Donald Trump. And all I can say is, yeah, good luck with that one. Because that's like lighting your own house on fire and then standing outside with a garden hose asking for the heavens to put it out. Sure, that seems to make sense. Or betting on a horse, watching it break its leg, and then begging for a miracle to move the finish line closer. Totally logical. And the wildest part, these folks will bend over backwards, twist themselves into knots to explain why Donald Trump isn't the problem. Somehow it's China's fault, or it's the Democrats' fault, or maybe even the weather's fault. Right. You know, because clouds write trade policy now. It's like watching someone get scammed in broad daylight and then blaming the scammer, calling him a savior. Genius, right? At some point, maybe just admit the problem wasn't divine punishment, it was your ballot. And honestly, I think this group of Americans will probably end up being the most confusing part of modern day history.
This is the first time in my life farming that I still have crop in my bins that I can't sell. Basically, what we're getting out, a bushel of corn or a bushel of rice, would be like you making $5 an hour and trying to pay your bills at home. Mexico and China are the two biggest rice buyers for the United. They buy more rice off of us than anyone. And when they stop buying rice, we have nowhere to go with the rice. It won't be a trickle-down effect. It will be like flushing a toilet if the ag industry collapses. Totally 100% dependent upon the Lord Jesus Christ. I surrender it to Him.
Rural America, I hope you're watching. Farmers and ranchers, I hope you're watching, because you're being gaslit right out of existence. Hey guys, my name's Will. This is the Back 40, and let's talk about it. Nothing summarizes, nothing epitomizes, nothing represents the gaslighting that's happening to farmers and ranchers in rural America better than the Chinese trade deal that was announced today. Can you imagine a situation in rural America at any job you hold, or on any farm and ranch in this country, where you could be praised, lifted up, and put on a pedestal for creating a problem, blowing up the entire economy by creating that problem, backing away from your stance that created the problem, and in the end, claiming a victory because you had to back down. That's exactly what just happened today. In rural America, farmers and ranchers, I hope you're watching, because all of America is going to pay the price, but you're going to pay a very special price. And the media plays along. Headline after headline today that Trump got his trade deal with China. And oh, what a trade deal it was. He raised the tariffs to 145%. China pushed back, raising reciprocal tariffs of their own. Farmers and ranchers lost $1.6 billion in beef sales. And Australia stepped in to fill the gap. Markets that will not come back again. Are you listening, farmers and ranchers? Up to 80% of corn crop exports gone. 37 billion metric tons of soybeans sold overseas, gone. Brazil, which used to sell China 13% of their row crop reserves and consumptibles, now sells them 43%, and those markets will not be back. Pork sales down. The threats of fowl sales, chicken, turkey, etc., going down. And what did we gain as a result? The administration admits that China gave up not one single concession to get this deal. Not one. All that happened is that the two sides agreed to lower these tariffs and to back off for 90 days, at which time they would begin to start talking about the longer term issues. So again, just to summarize, we raised tariffs on China 145%. China reciprocated and raised tariffs on the United States. Foreign markets went away that will never come back again. And billions of dollars in American agricultural sales are gone forever. All of it. All of it. So that the president and this administration, which understand agriculture and rural America about as much as I understand brain surgery and how to walk past a Shoney's all-you-can-eat breakfast bar without dipping into the biscuits and gravy, all so that they could claim a victory based on giving up, turning tail and running, rolling away with no wins, letting the Chinese show us up on the world stage, and caught in the wake, standing there in the diesel smoke, breathing in the fumes of failure, are the rural people of this country and farmers and ranchers, who more than any other group will suffer the consequences of what just happened over the past 3 months. And on top of that devastated economy, that billions of dollars in lost sales, that loss will be compounded by program after program after program designed to mitigate the risk associated with having an administration that doesn't understand rural America and agriculture. That damage will be mitigated by program after program after program going away, leaving farmers and ranchers, 30% of whom did not vote for this president, holding the bag. Many of them left with a hole in their farming and ranching budgets of anywhere from $10,000 to $300,000 because they signed a contract promising them that if they improved their operations, they'd be reimbursed for a proportion of those expenditures. Frozen, gone. Unless, of course, they were conservative farmers and ranchers screaming the loudest on social media, crying those crocodile tears. It's a sad state of affairs. And it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, a Republican, an independent, or if you wouldn't touch politics with a 10-foot pole, you're going to suffer the consequences of this bad deal. It's time to wake up. It's time to admit you were lied to. We've got farmers in this country planting crops, not because they think they're going to sell them at a profit, but because they think they're going to get the highest amount in crop insurance for that crop when it's sold at a loss. It's time to wake up. It's time to put these culture wars aside and start voting in our best interest, because how much longer do we have with Wall Street and corporate ag and international companies standing on the sidelines waiting to buy up our small farms and ranches as they fail? As bankruptcies increase, as farmer and rancher unalivings increase in this term, just like they did in his last term, it's time to wake up. Join us here at the Back 40. Go to the Back 40 Official, allspelledout.com, and join us in this fight. We can't lose very many more battles like this. We can't lose our farm programs. We can't lose SNAP in rural America. We can't lose Medicaid in rural America. We can't lose infrastructure investment in rural America. We can't allow reverse Robin Hood, where money is taken out of our rural schools and given to kids that are already attending private schools. The harm that will be done will be incalculable in rural America. And I, for one, am not going to stand idly by and watch it happen. And I want you to join me in the effort. It's time to stand up. It's time to put labels aside. It's time to do the right thing.
Those Arkansas farmers crying up and down the timeline are killing me, because they just discovered that racism and hate is very expensive. You voted for Trump for no reason, because you could have taken 2 seconds out of your day to look up the policies that would directly affect you. As a farmer, why are you voting for somebody that's going to implement the stupidest tariffs? Why are you voting for somebody that is gutting infrastructure? Why are you voting for somebody that is going to have your land basically taken? I'm telling you, you're not going to be able to afford that farmland anymore, and it's going to be scooped up by all these tech companies and AI companies, and they are going to put these factories right on your land, and you are going to go obsolete. So congratulations, and you effed around and found out.
Do you know the biggest joke right now on the internet? Arkansas farmers needs help. Is it not even funny? The same folks who said pull yourself up by your bootstraps are now pulling their boots off and begging and begging. Can you imagine that? The same people that voted the man in office that said, oh, that they're the biggest fans are now the ones complaining. Can you imagine that? Arkansas farmers, many of them are Trump's biggest supporters, Trump's biggest fans. And now they are crying out for help because the system they voted for is squeezing them dry. But here's my question. Where was all the energy when black poor communities needed help? Where were all this? Because they don't help black communities. Let's be honest. Or do they? They don't. But right now, the system they voted is squeezing them. It just looked like Trump decided to go for the people who liked him the most this time around, and he's dealing with them. Imagine what he's doing to these farmers. It's sad.
Racism, misogyny, and sexism comes with a mighty cost, and it is a cost that farmers all across the state of Arkansas are currently having to pay. Folks, I want to dispel this notion that farmers in Arkansas had no idea the negative impacts that Donald Trump's tariffs could have on them. I think if I had to choose any job group in the United States that would understand tariffs, it would be farmers. They knew full well the impact that this could have on them, but they believed that in return for their vote, there would be carve-outs, there would be bailouts for them by the Trump administration from the negative effects of tariffs. And they've yet to receive that from the Trump administration. So this idea that they didn't see this coming or that farmers are just stupid is a fallacy. They knew full well what they were voting for, but they expected to be exempt. And I think that's the case for a lot of people right now that are being negatively impacted by Donald Trump's policies. And they voted for him because they thought that they would be exempt. Sexism, misogyny, and racism comes with a cost. And it's a cost you better be willing to bear, especially if that's going to be the sole reason you vote for an individual.
Guess who just got the tea about what's going over on MAGA sides, specifically with the farmers in Arkansas? Child, them Trump tariffs is kicking their asses so bad that at the most recent NEA meeting representative assembly that took place on Friday, the farmers in Arkansas all collectively broke down in prayer. They started calling on to God. They started calling on to God because they cannot trust that Donald Trump is actually going to keep his word. See, the big beautiful bill, which a lot of these Arkansas farmers voted for, and the Trump administration is currently renaming because it did not accurately describe what was in the bill, promised a lot of the people in the agriculture industry benefits that a lot of these businesses will not live to see as they all take effect in 2026, 2027, late 2026 and early 2027 to be exact. But like I stated, a lot of those businesses will not be around long enough to see it come into fruition. Apparently around that time, a quarter of the farming industry in Arkansas will be out of business. And y'all already know that I always come with the evidence. I always have the clip. So stay tuned for the clip provided by ABC7.
The government steps in to save them. Farmers had no one to turn to but God.
Farmers are not being ignored. It's only about being there closer today than anyone else on this earth because we deal with your earth every day. You know, we're hurting you. We can't deal with what's happened to us.
Dear Lord, we are hurting here, Lord. We can't help what has happened to us. You actually could have helped it because you could have voted against it. Y'all could have voted for Kamala, but like you stated, she has a weird laugh. And here's a screenshot of the article. You can go and find it. Let's read along to the title. People have little sympathy for the Arkansas farmers who are asking Trump for emergency funding to save their farms. And because they can't trust on Trump to actually come through with these emergency funds, they started praying. I probably should have highlighted what I'm about to read, but it's in quotations at the top. It says, I have never been as worried as I am now about whether or not my kids and grandkids will be able to carry on. Welcome to the mentality of the average Black American here. Welcome to the mentality of the average Hispanic Latino person here. Welcome to the mentality of the average marginalized group member here in America. And to think that all of this could have been avoided, had you just listened to those same marginalized groups, if you would have just listened to the Black Americans here in this country, to the 92%, if you would have just listened. And now, ironically, the same tool that you used to oppress the marginalized groups in this country, the Black Americans in this country, the formerly enslaved people of America, religion, Christianity, prayer, is now the only tool that you can rely on because you can't trust in your government to look out for you. You can't trust in your government to help you. How fucking ironic. And just a reminder, because I know y'all like to forget, right? Anytime, historically speaking, by the way, the Black Americans of this country stated that they needed help, they wanted to be treated fairly, they wanted equality, you told them to pray harder. You sent them to church. You told them to pray harder. That if it's really meant for them, All they had to do was pray harder and God was going to hear them. So that's my advice to you, you farmers in Arkansas. Pray harder, okay? Just keep praying. However, I do have a strong inkling that we are not praying to the same gods. I know the God that I pray to. There's only one. I don't know what you're praying to, but pray harder, okay? God bless America.
To all my farmer neighbors, my name is Susie, and I live in rural Missouri. You were warned over and over and over. We told you there was no drag queen story hour. There were no furries in our school using litter boxes. But you guys refused to call the superintendent of the schools like I did. I called Rolla Public Schools and asked Dr. Dare if there was any truth to that. He laughed and said maybe I was watching too much TV. We told you that China signed 20-year contracts with Brazil for soybeans. You laughed in our face. I'm not going to say I told you so, but I do not want to bail you out for the next 20 years, and I will fight against it. China signed 20-year contracts with Brazil for soybeans because of Donald J. Trump. They don't want our soybeans. They don't want our beef. They don't want our wheat. They don't want anything we grow. As far as we're concerned, China can stick it up our ass. And can you blame them? Can you really blame them?
Listen to me. Racism is the poison in Arkansas soil. That's right, racism. Last week, hundreds of Arkansas farmers stood in a room and broke down in prayer in front of their elected officials. They weren't praying for rain, guys. They weren't praying for sunshine. They weren't even praying for a bumper crop. They were praying because their farms, their family land, their way of life is collapsing under tariffs and trade wars. And here's the truth. Those tariffs, that trade war, that whole playbook was born out of racism. Farmers were told the story that punishing foreigners would make America strong again. They were told to clap when leaders wagged their finger at China, Mexico, or whoever else they decided was the villain of the week. They were told it was patriotism, but really it was racism dressed up in red, white, and blue, and farmers bought it. They cheered it. They co-signed it. And now they are the ones paying the bill. Look at soybeans. Without tariffs, U.S. beans leaving New Orleans are cheaper than Brazil. But with tariffs, suddenly Brazil is winning. And who did that? Not God, not nature, not fate, your own leaders waving a racist flag and calling it strength. And the farmers who clapped for it are now on their knees begging for help. This isn't the first time. History is packed with proof that racism bankrupts the very people it fuels. Jim Crow didn't just brutalize black citizens. It strangled the Southern economy for generations. Segregation didn't just rob black kids of opportunity. It robbed the entire South of progress, creativity, and prosperity. The Chinese Exclusion Act of the 1880s, it cut off immigrant labor that helped build America, leaving industries starved. Japanese internment during World War II, well, that destroyed businesses, farms, and families, and the whole economy bore the cost. Every single time America lets racism drive policy, the poison spreads. It never just hits the target. It always circles back. And now here we are again. Farmers in Arkansas prayed out loud last week because they're broke. And they know it. And some of them voted for this mess. Some of them cheered when the tariffs went into place because they thought it would put others in their place. But you can't hate and expect to harvest prosperity. You cannot poison your neighbor's well without eventually drinking from it yourself. So let's call this what it is. Racism is the poison in your soil. It's why your crops can't compete. It's why your barns are empty. It's why you bowed your head in front of men in suits who don't care about you at all beyond your vote. Racism doesn't just starve the people you think are your enemies. It starves you. Arkansas, this is your wake-up call. You can pray all you want, but you have to face the truth. Nothing changes unless you do. Racism isn't strength, it's weakness. It's not power, it's poison. It's killing your farms, your family, and your future. Please wake up.
Now, I've never been as worried as I am now about whether or not my kids and grandkids will be able to carry on.
He said, I love you, Mr. Trump. I need to see the fruit of your love.
5 of my customers have committed. That's how serious that this is.
And what it costs for us to farm is astronomical now.
I farm with paid-for equipment. All my tractors are 50 years old, and I can't hardly make this deal work. I think the tariffs are the ice cream on the cake of a perfect storm.
After a horrible year last year where most farmers in Arkansas Delta lost money, this year's going to be worse.
We made the decision to go out this year in the spring. So my son will not be the seventh generation on our farm.
We're going to lose 25 or 30% of the farmers in this country if they don't do something. It has to be done, and it's not just here. It's everywhere.
I read an article yesterday about how farmers in Arkansas are organizing to beg the Trump administration for federal financial aid because they are being economically devastated by Trump's policies, most specifically the tariffs. And, you know, it's hard for me to cultivate empathy and compassion in this situation. I think the knee-jerk response is, you get what you vote for. You were okay with hurting other people, but you're not okay when it's you. Fuck around and find out, all those sorts of things. And, it's not that those sentiments are invalid. I mean, here you have a group of people who overwhelmingly shake their fist at socialist policies, Marxist policies, which of course they don't know what those are, while at the same time they've got their hand out. They are furious at black and brown people living off government welfare. But here, they expect it, which is the epitome of white supremacist, white privilege, resenting other people for needing what you think you're entitled to. But I think, I have got to try to move beyond those sorts of resentful sentiments because I'm a Christian. And Jesus, the gospel says that when Jesus saw the crowds, he had compassion and pity for them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. Sheep are stupid animals that are pretty much incapable of thinking for themselves. They need somebody watching out for them. Trump has preyed upon the stupidity and the ignorance and the racism of people like these farmers in Arkansas. And it doesn't excuse their ignorance. It certainly doesn't excuse their racism. There should be consequences. But at the same time, these people have been exploited and manipulated, and now they are hurting. And I feel like there's got to be still room for compassion and empathy, even though it certainly does not come natural to me.
I'm so glad you asked that question. Not out loud. Not out loud. If you go on here, you'll see the videos for Arkansas farmers. One guy, literally, as they're asking for government handouts, which one of my favorite comments on that video was, if I can't get my student loans forgiven, why should I have to bail out your farm? Which, again, I'm involved in farm. I work in farming. And also, but that guy, the farmer, the Arkansas farmer, he said specifically the tariffs are making our goods that we're growing and selling more expensive, too expensive now. So these other countries are getting their soybeans and their corn and stuff from Brazil, from elsewhere because of the tariffs. Did he say Trump's tariffs? No, he did not. And I live in Washington State. It is Democrat run, 100%. But I, working in farming, had the opportunity to go to my local farm bureau meeting where it was like a local election thing. But I was asked to present some information about my farm and that I work at. I don't own it. But they had a couple of Republican representatives because Republicans, farmers, they're giving kind of an update on the things. Now, Washington State is unique in that we don't have an income tax. We are sales tax or property taxes. That's how we make our money. Rightfully so, there is a lot of frustration, as expressed by these Republican state representatives, that farmers are having to pay more taxes to pay for things in the state because we don't have a state income tax. And they always blame the Democrats. Democrats are not without blame. They have control, right? But they never say tax the rich. They just blame Democrats for raising the taxes on the farmers. Well, the taxes have to come from somewhere, right? And I absolutely think Democrats should be taxing people more. But Republicans themselves could say, we need to help out these small farmers. Why aren't we taxing Boeing, Expedia, Amazon, Starbucks? We have big companies here in Washington State. We are tech or farming here in Washington State. And never once in that Farm Bureau's meeting that I was at was it, we need to find other places. We need to raise corporate taxes. We need to have a billionaire tax, of which there are many here, or some here, many millionaires here in the Puget Sound area. But they just blame the Democrats. And so it will never lie with Trump because in Arkansas, they voted for him. 62% of farmers voted for him, and they will now lose their farms. A lot of them will lose their farms, which is not a problem for the tech bros and the corporations, because Jeff Bezos's land acquisition arm or whoever, they'll just come in up and buy that farm, and those farmers can work there fixing the tractors or whatever, because this is what, and I don't actually wish FAFO on farmers. I don't know how they're going to get out of this. And the hypocrisy of taking as many government subsidies as farmers do, while also shitting on individuals who accept SNAP and other subsidies like that and safety nets is not lost on me as a progressive liberal person who also works in farming. I really wish they would blame the right people, but that's just the story of America.
I tell you what, if the federal government caves in and gives these whining white farmers in Arkansas and all over the country welfare checks that they are crying and begging for because they are dealing with the consequences of their vote, then I hope that the National Black Farmers Association gets together and files a class action lawsuit against the government, just like those white farmers did in 2021 in order to block stimulus aid to black farmers. They sure did. They filed a lawsuit in 2021, white farmers, including those in Arkansas, to bar the federal government from giving a $4 billion stimulus package to black farmers and farmers of color because they felt it was reverse discrimination and it was unconstitutional. Well, if the federal government turns around and gives them money, then yes, National Black Farmers Association, please get together and file the biggest lawsuit that you can against the federal government. I've tagged John Boyd, who is the founder of the National Black Farmers Association, in this video. You all please go follow him, learn more about the National Black Farmers Association and how you can help them fight for economic justice for our black farmers. Thanks, y'all.
Here we go again. Another fuck around and find out moment. This one, Arkansas farmers. Yep, Arkansas farmers who voted overwhelmingly for President Trump. Well, here's a quote from one of those Arkansas farmers, and I'm going to do it in my best Arkansas accent. Right now, we're in a very dire situation. September is upon us. Harvest is starting in the deep south, and we have 0 bushels of soybeans on the books to be sold to China. Yeah, no shit. You voted for the tariff guy. And now Arkansas farmers want a handout. They want federal assistance. This poor ass red state that votes Republican every freaking year, they want a handout. You damn socialists. I guess you're finding out that racism sure is expansive, huh? Fucking dumbasses.
You know, one of the daughters of the Arkansas farmer actually reached out to me. You know, all the videos have been going around about all of these farmers that voted for Trump asking for socialism. She's like, well, my dad agrees with a lot of what you said, but I don't think it's fair to judge him. Well, I do. You know what she didn't say? I didn't vote for him, and my dad didn't vote for him. She goes, you shouldn't assume who he voted for. She knew exactly who she voted for. Don't whisper to me. So I asked her, tell me the people in the Congress and the Senate on the federal and the local levels that your dad voted for, and give me the names of the bills that he proposed for firearm reform and women's safety, and that's going to bring down the price of housing, and I will make a video. I never heard back. See, she and her dad didn't care about anybody else. She didn't care about the officers on January 6th. She didn't care about the children and innocent people in Gaza. She didn't care about Adriana Smith or Amber Thurman or women in Texas that have a 52% mortality rate increase because of Roe versus Wade. She didn't give a damn about anything. They only cared about themselves. And see, that same group of people demonizes, the blue states. California is the 4th largest economy in the world. Between California and New York, we bring in $4.5 trillion in GDP. Wow, sounds like real shithole states, doesn't it? 40 million people live in California. Yeah, sounds like a real dumpster fire, doesn't it? Yeah, you just don't like it because we're successful. You guys are last in education, healthcare, everything. Because you keep voting for the same people in your office because you want to own the libs more than you want to make your lives better. You vote against your own best interest as long as you punish somebody else and somebody else suffers. instead of picking yourself by the bootstraps and putting people in power, because you've been told by the white church that abortion and gay people are the worst. Well, it's funny how somehow they justify voting for a white man who's a felon and abuses women, is on his third failed marriage, because I thought marriage was between one man and one woman. But I guess when it comes to the white man, as long as God endorses it, somehow it's okay. But Pete Buttigieg, the guy that's not a felon or doesn't cheat on his husband or didn't cause an insurrection or make fun of disabled people, somehow that's just a bridge too far. And this is why we're here. Because people like those farmers didn't care about anybody except for me, me, me. Love thy neighbor as thyself. And all they do is love thyself. And now that you got called out for your hypocrisy, you don't like it. Well, that's too damn bad, because there's a lot of people that are suffering, women, people that are disabled, people that have Medicare, because you only voted for yourself. So please, and I say this as a person of faith, shove your crosses right up your ass, because nobody wants to hear it. When you start giving a damn about other people other than yourself, then you can call yourself a person, a Christian. You have yourself a white day.
The nerve of these people, it's absolutely repulsive. Let me tell you something about the farmers. I don't care. I don't care. I hope your farm goes under. I hope a big corporation buys it. And then I hope you have to work that farm on pennies on the dollar. Because there are people who are really suffering today, who got thrown off of some social programs and are going to get thrown off for social programs for the next 2 years because of what you voted for. There's going to be hospitals that are going to be closing. You know, I'm contributing to the problem myself. When I go to the store, I turn my milk around. I buy Maple Hill. It's from Kinderhook, New York. I'm not buying milk from anywhere else. My dairy, Cabot, Vermont. My cheeses, my sour cream, my butter, Cabot. My eggs come from California. I never checked on where my products came from. I cared about quality, I cared about price. Now I'm checking, and I'm only buying it from the states that matter, because Arkansas, Nebraska, you don't matter. You don't matter. You're not special. You wanted to vote for this? You wanted to fuck around? Here you are finding out, because you all bitched when Joe Biden wanted to help millions of people on student loans. And they would have gotten jobs in the United States, paid taxes in the United States, spent that money in the United States economy. But no. Nope. That was government waste. And now you're asking for handouts to save your family farm? Fuck you. You don't matter. You're not special. You're not special at all. Okay? My sympathy is elsewhere. My sympathy is for people who need some of these programs, who are getting thrown off of some of these programs. Pick up a book and learn how you just voted against your own interest. And if you still don't get it, you still don't understand, the rest of us are not going to hold your hand. We're not going to wait for you. Okay? Figure it the fuck out. Because you caused other people to really suffer. And then you got the balls to put your hand out and ask for a handout to save your farm. Your hatred is so deep that you supported shutting down USAID. That stimulated the U.S. farming economy while also feeding people who were starving. Oh yeah, but now I have to care that you're going to lose your family farm? Here.
This is all I have to say, right, to Arkansas, right? You backed the man who destroyed your market, ignored climate change and social programs, and now you want him to save you? Arkansas farmers will probably get their handouts. But what about the communities that have been bleeding for generations with no rescue? The black communities, what about them? We have black farmers too, who as a result of this whole deportations are also crying out loud. I hope they also get their own handouts as well. You can't build your politics on no handouts and then turn around and beg for one when your pockets are dried. You can't do that. You said there's nothing like handouts. You guys can do it yourself. Why are you begging? Why do you want handouts? That's a question. Right? That's not pride. That's privilege. And while you're crying for help from a man who created the problem, Black America is still standing with no bailouts. Black Americans are standing with no bailouts, no mercy, no apologies. Can you imagine? It's really unfair. To me, this is not justice. Whatever is good for the goose is all good for the gander, right? So that's just it. So I want you to drop a comment if you see the hypocrisy too. Because some people only believe in help when they need it. Yeah, it's hypocrisy now. What is that? Some people are even saying we should pray for them. Pray for what exactly? Excuse me, pray for what? You're funny.